I agree that we should not take legal action on Kunal Kamra. This is an outside of legality issue. That I'm very, very clear. Okay. I have no regards for Kunal Kamra. I think his talent is very questionable in terms of real comedy and in terms of his intentions. That's what the politics he believes in. It's fine. All his roasts tend to be towards one party and not towards the other. That's also fine. That's within his rights, and we should not bother him, and we should like let him do what he wants to do. But finally, I let me make my stance extremely clear. Whether you like the politician or not, the comedian or not, or politician or not, it doesn't matter. It's a joke, yaar. It's a joke. Look up the definition of a joke. It means it's not serious.
Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. We boast of being the world's biggest democracy, but the paradox is our politicians are unable to accept criticism and they can't take a joke. And this is true of all of them, young or old, in opposition or in government, at the center or in the states. Instead, our first response is to arrest stand-up comedians and comics and even seek to jail them. What does that reveal of our politicians? What does that suggest of the sort of country we've become? And what does that say of our democracy? Those are the questions at the heart of the subject I shall raise today with someone many people consider India's most popular and India's most widely read author, Chetan Bhagat. Chetan Bhagat, in a column you wrote for Sunday's Times of India on how politicians respond to criticism and lampooning, you asked the question, do we want to be a country that jails comedians? Surely we are already that sort of country. We file FIRs against comedians. Sometimes we arrest them before they've even made a joke. We vandalize their venues, we interrogate their audience, and politicians frequently accuse them of anti-nationalism, sometimes even of treason. So we are that sort of country already, aren't we?
Well, Karan, it's a good question, which is what my column ended with. That's more like a conclusion, what kind of country we want to be. And I think before we begin, it's a little bit nuanced. And I've tried to be balanced in this because it's very easy to say, don't do this, don't arrest comedians, which I don't think anybody should. It's a joke at the end of the day. But let's just understand what comedy is first, what's been really going on. Let's put it in context for people who may not be seeing it the way I'm seeing it, or I'll try to explain right now. True comedy, where it's like people who are like world class comics typically rely on observational comedy in society. So they observe things in society and they find the something funny in the ordinary. Let's say I make a statement like I've seen it in my house. We are Punjabis, so Punjabis plan the next meal while they're eating their current meal. So at breakfast we plan lunch. At lunch we are thinking about talking about dinner. So basically we talk about food all the time. Now it's somewhat funny, and it's funny because are you Punjabi?
I am indeed.
Yes, and you smiled because it's comedy, and we are not getting offended. We are Punjabis. We know we do this, and not all Punjabis will be doing it, and yeah, everything. But this is simple. It doesn't largely harm anybody. It doesn't hurt anybody. It's a joke. Problem is, such kind of humor is really rare skill to have the talent to observe this. And very few people have it. Say Jerry Seinfeld will have it, or Chris Rock will have it worldwide, or here Zakir Khan has it. And there are many, many comedians. I don't want to take, many of them are my friends, so I don't want to take one or two names and not the others. But there is a category of comedy which is becoming, so when we talk about comedians, not all comedians are like this. Okay, there is a category of comedy involving two things which get cheap laughs pretty fast. I'm saying it right now. This is low end talent of comedy. This is not real high end talent of comedy. I'm not saying they don't need to exist. People call me non literary. People say other writers are more literary. We just have to accept what people call it. So the way I see it, there are two ways to make people laugh without having this skill of seeing society and making jokes out of normal observations. Number one is sex jokes. If you make something very sexual, you know, then it becomes kind of funny. Like if it's like, oh, I if a girl just is on a stage and she just says, oh, I feel like giving a blowjob right now. It's like silly laughs. Like it's not that great, It's not a joke that's going to be remembered or quoted the next day, but it'll create some laughs. Category one, okay? Category one and then the category two is basically roasting people, which is also becoming incredibly popular these days, which is a way of saying we are just making fun of you for laughs. That's why it's called a roast. But it's essentially, it is insult comedy. It is in a way insulting people, but the intention is not to actually insult you. But it's like people keep making fun of your bow ties and things like that. I mean, nobody really wants to insult Karan Thapar, but there is just a joke, your accent, you know,
Let
and
me
things
let
like
me
that.
come in at that point because you wrote about roast specifically in that Times of India column. You asked, should we be okay with a prominent person being insulted, attacked, or labeled in the name of roasting? Can a comedian escape the backlash by simply saying it was a joke? Now, I put it to you that happens every day to President Trump in America, and no one would consider police action against Trevor Noah or Stephen Colbert. Why is there a backlash in the world's biggest democracy? Why can't comedians make jokes that are possibly insulting of great leaders and not be made to suffer for it?
Okay, so that's one very valid kind of argument. But let me tell you this, Karan. Now we live in times where things can go viral, where misinformation can spread very fast, and where you can, in the garb of a joke, quote a lot of things. Let's look at the sex thing. We had a similar issue with Ranveer Alabadia, where he made a sex joke which didn't land. When we say we didn't land, means it people didn't find it funny. He made something about some parent sex, whatever. It was like a class 9 humor, I would say, and it didn't work. In fact, it offended a lot of people, and then there was a huge backlash because you were playing with that cheap comedy. Now, when you're playing with roast
Saying
comedy,
the same
Karan,
for me, aren't you? If it didn't work, it was a bad joke. It didn't get laughs, and that, in a sense, is punishment itself. It wasn't funny. People didn't think it was amusing.
yes,
Dismiss it
yes,
as a bad joke and forget about it.
yes. Now, when it comes to roast, though, same thing can happen. But tell me something. Let's say I start a movement saying, I don't know, Karan Thapar is a wanker. Supposing. Okay. Now you may say, this is a very bad joke. This is not even funny. You can call anybody a wanker. Right? And then people may ask, what is a wanker? Maybe it's not a very common name in India, a common term in India. But then you turn it in Hindi. Everybody, we start a movement, right? I start making memes of Karan Thapar. Everybody starts saying this to you. Now you are trying to do some journalism. You're trying to do, okay, you may have some mannerisms. You may have some quirks. We all have them. We all have weird habits. We all have things that can be pulled and made fun of. Now, imagine if that becomes the biggest narrative about you. Now, listen
Chetan
to me, Karan.
Bhagat, do you really think I would file an FIR against you if you said Karan
Not FIR.
is a wanker? I mean, it
No,
would be ludicrous. You would laugh. You would think that Karan has lost his marbles.
I know, but that's you. But I'm saying if there is a narrative that gets created which undermines your serious work, I'm just saying, like you have done great interviews, you've got prominent people, you put thought into your process, but all that comes is every time there's an interview, the comments say that. It will hurt you or not.
Of
First, tell
course,
me.
it
We are
will
not going to
hurt.
refer.
The intention of lampooning is to hurt. That is the intention. That is
Is
the motivation. But
should
it's
it
the
be?
sort of
Should
hurt
it
you
be?
should learn to take.
But that's the issue, right? I mean, if your intention was to hurt the other person, or was the intention to make other people laugh? Because
Both.
that's where the
Both.
well,
When you
yeah,
lampoon someone, you pull them down a peg or two. People don't like being pulled down a peg. It hurts them. You're
okay.
deflating their ego. You're pricking their pomposity. And it
And
needs to be
then,
done.
and then in the same name of now you're saying your goalpost has shifted. We are not only trying to make people laugh, we are trying to hurt people also. Now, let's say I call you a traitor. You're a traitor, Karan. I think you're a traitor. That's not even funny. And I just say it like in a song, I make a Bollywood. I'm just saying, I just make a Bollywood song. Karan is a traitor. Karan is and that's supposed to be funny. But I am saying the word traitor. That's not funny. That's somewhat like now tell me, is there
I'm
something you it'll
sure
bother
it
you on?
may be offensive, but it is no reason for me to file an FIR.
But
It's
but you're not
no reason
but
for
you're
me to vandalize your home. It's no reason for my supporters to start screaming and shouting and destroying locations.
we
It
will get to
happened
the
in the case
repercussions.
of Kunal Kamra and Mr. Shinde.
We will get to the reactions later. No, Karan, we have the interview. We'll go step by step. Let's first tell me. If I start do a sing along of like Jack and Jill went up the hill, Karan was a traitor. I start doing this. It's a very bad joke. It's nobody will laugh. But I put the word Karan is a traitor. I don't know traitor against what, against your job or whatever. Now that that like, is there somewhere and I'm the guy who attacks people like you. I'm the guy who attacks people with your ideology, your whole the way you think. Will that be also kind of comedy? Will that be jokes? Or we will know that, dude, this Chetan is out for me. I know. And this he's undermining my
Truth
work. Now
is,
everybody's singing this song.
Chetan, the truth is, at the venue when Kunal Kamra suggested that an unnamed politician, I'll repeat that, an unnamed politician was a Gadar, it got laughs from the audience, it got cheers from the audience. So as
Because
far
he's
as the audience was concerned, it was funny. Now, what actually offended that unnamed politician, and I'm deliberately not taking his name because he was unnamed, is that perhaps this pricked his pomposity, it deflated his ego, it made him feel small, he didn't know how to take it, he has an inflated sense of his own self-importance and therefore wasn't able to laugh. And that's what I want to ask you.
see,
What
I
does it
think
tell us? Answer this for me. What does it tell us about our politicians that they can't take a joke against themselves, that they're
we,
so thin skinned, they don't like being laughed at? What does it tell us about them?
well, it tells us that they don't like being laughed at. We will get to that. Okay. Let me just dissect this Kunal Kamra thing also for you. Because we want to give a fresh perspective, right? There's been this is a generic discussion. Don't put political just now. Kunal Kamra is very clearly against the right wing government. It's okay, you can be, and I think people like not everybody votes for the NDA, and that's okay, right? 40 50% of people didn't vote for NDA, and he's also not somebody who's a fan of the government. Absolutely fine, very nice. He only usually attacks people from this side of the political spectrum. That's also a fact. Okay, don't interrupt me. Secondly, look at what he said. Okay, again, I'm not saying the reaction was justified and breaking studios. How can you ever justify that? But he started off, Karan, Thane ka auto. Okay? There's a certain condescension in that. Somebody has come from humble roots. Now you may say he's thin skinned, but somebody, you are kind of saying that he's a guy with a beard and who drives an auto. Think about it. You're literally talking about his roots. It's supposed to be funny. Okay?
Be proud
Somebody's
of his
beginnings.
roots. The
No,
Prime
it's
Minister is
I.
proud of being a chaiwala. He boasts about it. Why
Yes,
should Hindi not
but if
boast
some
about being an auto driver?
but when Mani Shankar Iyer insulted the like used that chaiwala as an insulting jibe, as a classist jibe, he was attacked for it. He was attacked. He also said he can serve tea outside or something like that. He
He
said, right?
wasn't jailed. He didn't have an FIR. The venue was
Neither is Kunal.
destroyed.
Okay. Now then he goes on to this thing of Gaddar. Now tell me something. That's again a opinion, and he has the right to give it. It's a wrong. If he if the party has come back to power after doing all those readjustments, the party kind of spawned out of another party. They fought an election again, and they've come back to power.
So,
So how are they Gaddar?
but hang
What
on
is
a
the
second.
Gaddari?
The joke was not reality. The joke was not a description of the person. The joke was an
Okay,
attempt to prick and have fun. Therefore, it doesn't have to be accurate in the sense of being truthful.
okay. So you are admitting that the joke wasn't truthful. The
There's
intention
nothing
was
to
to
admit.
hurt.
We know it's not truthful. It's a joke. And
Okay, so
as you say in your own articles, a joke is by definition not meant
yes.
to be taken seriously.
So now let's segue into the reactions and what should we do now. Why I discussed all this is because somehow the moment you say that you should not jail comedians, it feels like you're okay with people attacking, insulting people, and taking it too far in the name of roast and setting narratives about a person. If 20 comedians tomorrow call the same person Gaddar, no matter what work he does in his state, everybody will just call him that.
Just a moment. We are proud of being the world's biggest democracy. There isn't a day practically when our government, our politicians, and our PM in particular don't boast about that fact. In fact, the Prime Minister calls us not just the world's biggest democracy, he calls us the mother of democracy. And yet, in comparison, Look at Trump's America. Every single day he is roasted. His accent is mimicked. His policies are
We are
ridiculous.
not
His
America,
tariffs are
Karan.
lampooned.
Who told you?
He's
We are
not
not
America.
America. But
So
we are not America.
we're a democracy. Why can't we take good humored jokes or even bad humored jokes?
No, no, we are not America. One side point about America. Right now, Trump is introducing all kinds of tariffs, and none of the CEOs in the US have spoken. They are
Hang on,
burning.
that's not true. Bill Ackman has spoken out.
One guy. But they're like the Apple guy who's like importing all the iPhones from China, and the business model is in danger.
Yeah, but
Nike,
hang on,
all these people.
CEOs not speaking out doesn't mean that Stephen Colbert and Trevor
Okay,
Noah aren't
okay,
speaking
a
out.
separate
They're
discussion. Yeah,
joking
that.
about it on TV. Millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions are laughing at it. Why is that okay in America and something equivalent not acceptable in India? What sort of democracy are we?
I think that's what I was also puzzled by, but that's why in my article also, I pose questions to the people that what kind of society do you want? Now, you cannot cut paste American politics here because we are not America.
Well, it's not
Every
American
society,
politics that I'm cut pasting. It's the sense of humor that's missing that I'm talking about. It's sense of
whether,
humor. You can laugh
yeah,
at leaders in America. You can't laugh at leaders in India. And we claim to be the mother of
but
democracy.
we are a different society. We respect elders a lot. We respect authority a lot. We touch our parents' feet. They don't touch their parents' feet. So should we stop touching our parents' feet? I
But
don't
this has
know,
got nothing
right?
to do with touching your parents' feet. It's
No,
got to
but
do
it
with
comes
the
from
capacity to
Karan.
laugh at yourself.
Karan, Karan, it comes from there because we feel there is fundamentally some people are respected, people who are achievers, people who are at a higher level in society are to be respected. And when we roast them, we do not see the nuance that this is jokes, these are roasting. We feel that this is not aligned to our values. I'm trying to explain what is
Let
going
me,
on.
let me give you an example, not from America. Let me give you an example from Britain. England, the most common butt of jokes in England is the royal family, which is
I know.
revered. I use that word purposely, revered by the British. The most common butt of jokes is King Charles himself. Before that, it was Queen Elizabeth. Tourist shops, and you've been to London, sell undies and socks made of the Union Jack. Anything that was even halfway equivalent in India would be considered treason. Doesn't that suggest, just as the comparison with America suggested, limitations about our democracy? We can't take a joke. We don't like our elders and seniors being laughed at. We don't have
Yeah.
capacity to laugh, and yet the
We don't even
democracy.
we don't like new ideas. We don't like young people talking back to elders. And that is why we are not innovating in this world. That is why we are poor. I'm telling you now. I agree with you. I agree. We don't foster new radical thoughts. Now, I'm not saying Kunal Kamra is going to like Kunal Kamra is a special case and we should discuss his politics and what his
Let's
intentionality.
move beyond Kunal Kamra. This is
But we are
about
not
humor,
discussing that.
not
Yeah.
Kunal
Yeah.
Kamra.
And just for your record, Kunal Kamra has only insulted me on Twitter. I mean, he has gone at me many times, as he's gone at many people, including some of my friends, entrepreneurs. He goes to all kinds of people. He attacks, he gets attention. It's called rage bait. It's called all kind of clickbait politics. That's the world we live in also. So we never know what the true intention was, Karan. We
Hang on a
don't know whether
second.
you are.
Can I interrupt? I want to point out something that you actually pointed out in your article, but you seem to have forgotten it just now.
No, no, we will
The
discuss.
truth is, you only make jokes in public about politicians or other celebrities because they are people who are well known and have acknowledged public positions. In a sense, that humor is recognition of the fact they've made it. No one makes a joke about an ordinary chaiwala, but surely the prime minister is a legitimate target.
Correct. Yes. And my point is that it may be unsavory to many people. Okay. Like many things are. I'm not saying they're doing something great. Karan, if they're doing something great by bringing insulting these people or roasting these people, then we should all start roasting everybody. I'm saying I don't like it that much because I think it's cheap, low talent of humor. I think when you're not a real comic, you do all this. You have the right to do this, and we should still acknowledge as a society that it's a joke. It's an irritant. It's an irritant in life, like the uncles who put videos at full volume on flights, or people who like just blow their nose in public, or people who throw gutka. Like these are all irritating things in life, and these are also irritating things, not for you and me maybe, but for people who support that party, people who support that politician. It could be irritating, but don't go around breaking,
No,
don't go around putting
hang on a
FIRs.
second. Hang on a second. You say that our society is different to America. You made that point very forcefully a moment ago. Let me point out to you, it wasn't always like this in India. Nehru famously told Shankar of Shankar's Weekly, "Don't be lenient on me." It's an extremely well known quotation. Today, in contrast, you can't imitate the way the present Prime Minister speaks.
This is
You
not
can't
a
joke about his claim to non biological birth. We've become less tolerant as our democracy has matured with years instead of becoming more tolerant.
well, it's a different era, different technology. You can be targeted. A virtual mob can be unleashed on you, whether it's intentionally unleashed or it will just get unleashed by the fans of the people you've
No
roasted.
mob
So,
gets unleashed on its own. It's always
no,
intentional. Riots
virtual
happen
mob
on
can.
purpose. Very rarely are they spontaneous.
No, you try to
Even
make
the
fun of.
destruction of Kunal Kamra's venue happened because he was led there by a Shinde supporter. We all know the man's name. He's even got a
No,
case
no,
filed against him for
the
not being very
that
far.
physical mob, you're right. But virtual mobs, Karan, there are people on the internet, they're just like randomly, they get offended by everything. So they
But
will start attacking.
let them. Why worry? They're,
No,
they're
no,
only getting offended by you because you're a big name. If
I
you were
agree.
unknown and unimportant, they wouldn't bother about Chetan Bhagat. But because you are, as many people consider, the most popular and most widely read author in the
I
country,
get,
you
dude,
attract them. You
I
should be
only get
happy.
roasted.
It's
I
recognition.
I only get roasted. I haven't rarely like I'm always the butt of jokes. That's why I've kind of withdrawn on Twitter because it's just not good for me at this age to get roasted so much. But I have gone to roast shows. I've gone to shows where like the objective of the show that the celebrity is roasted. I have a very different tolerance. So it's not personal. Personally, if you ask me, any joke is okay. Now, even to I'm addressing society, Karan. You are speaking to a certain audience which kind of agrees with your kind of values. I'm trying to, when I write these columns, I'm trying to appeal to people. I'm trying to convert people on the other side. I'm saying, even if you get irritated by this, even you're a big fan of that politician, even if you got hurt, don't go about arresting, putting FIRs, because then you're saying anybody who has an opinion can be prosecuted because it becomes subjective. Then anybody who writes columns in
In
newspapers
fact,
can be.
let me quote from your article because this is the second very important point you made. And I'm going deliberately beyond Kunal Kamra. I'm talking
Yes.
about our attitude to humor, our attitude to humor that deflates your ego, our attitude to humor that makes you feel small because it pulls you down a peg or two. The sort of things Trevor Noah and Stephen Colbert do every single day to Trump, and we all laugh about it. In your article, you say, and this is the darker, deeper interpretation that follows when comedians are arrested. Doing so sets a precedent that it's okay to use state power to suppress opinions and criticism. This then becomes the thin end of the wedge. You start arresting comedians today, tomorrow you will be arresting opposition leaders because you don't like their opposition to your policies. It starts with something like comedians who people think, you can arrest them, and then it widens and becomes a general intolerance
Yeah.
of dissent and criticism.
Yes, then that's the big issue. And that's why we have to not let the state get involved. Like everything, a lot of things hurt you in life, but the state doesn't get involved. You get a breakup, your girlfriend leaves you, you're not going to get a state involved, right? You deal with it. This guy's saying bad things, unfair things, things that are not true in the name of a joke, calling himself a comedian, whereas he really doesn't have that much talent to do real comedy. And
Let's
then
move beyond Kunal Kamra. Let's move
no, no,
beyond Kunal
anybody,
Kamra.
not any roast, Karan. When I see there's a value system, I feel any joke that comes at the expense of another person is a lower end joke. Both sides should laugh. A good joke is where nobody gets hurt. If you're taking collateral damage in a joke, yeah, it's still a joke. It's still not meant to be taken seriously.
I want to quote to you your advice to politicians because I think it is very wise advice. You said, ignore those jokes, maybe criticize the comedians, but you added very pointedly, for heaven's sake, don't involve the legal system. That was your advice to politicians. I'm
I
quoting
think so.
you. Do you think any one of them is prepared to accept that advice?
I think they will. I think they will because see what has happened. Kunal Kamra, I'm not, again not talking specific case, but this particular case, he's got 1.3 crore views on his show now on that particular show has crores of views. People are making clips and sharing it. Why? Why? Because not because he said it. Anybody can make a stupid Bollywood song and start insulting someone. There's nothing. I can do it in 5 minutes. You tell me, I'll do it. But because they reacted, because there was a heavy-handed reaction, it just blew up.
Let me, in fact, interrupt you at that point, Chetan, because you made this point brilliantly in your article. You said, even when a joke crosses the line, try not to overreact. Showing that you're upset only fuels the controversy. The best response is no response, or better yet, go along with the joke. In other words, laugh at the joke even if you don't think it's funny, because if you start objecting, if you start crying, if you start taking action, you'll attract further attention. In your interest, you're saying to the politicians, think sensibly about how you respond.
Yes. See, a good, I mean, I've also been guilty of this. People have insulted me on social media. And in the last 20 years that I've been in the public, I wouldn't say I normally keep quiet, but maybe I was having a bad day or whatever. 3 or 4 times I've overreacted or reacted, just reacted. And it has blown up 10x, 100x because of that. So I would recommend not to do it. And ultimately, a politician should calculate, is it going to be politically beneficial for me to react or not? And usually it's not like you're going to get new voters saying, oh, I'm going to vote for him because he reacted this way. No, that's not going to happen. But the other risk is there, that there's a lot of young people who say, jokes come on Instagram, on every day people are insulting everybody. So why are you targeting so much? So I think there's more downside to reacting than, and like it blows up and everybody sees you as somebody who, all kind of interpretations
In
come.
fact,
So
as you said a moment ago, Kunal Kamra's episode would not have got 1.3 crore viewers if Mr. Shinde and his supporters had not responded the way they did. They ended up attracting attention to what they wanted people to forget and never remember. They did the wrong
yes.
thing.
Yeah, and that's what I think in general everybody should do. A lot of politicians do that. This case, no, it's very interesting because Shiv Sena's brand is also about like being fiery and like taking things in their own hands. That's been historically the thing. So in a way, they also got a political opportunity here to react. If you ask me, I think it wasn't like the person who did this. He's prominent. He's getting interviews everywhere. He's a star now. So it's sometimes that's the crazy world we are living in. People make stupid jokes, they get famous. The real talent is not getting the recognition it should. And the people who are like reacting in this way get more famous. So, this is the attention economy.
We've talked about your advice to politicians. First of all, you said, for God's sake, don't involve the legal system. Secondly, you said, even if the joke crosses the line, don't overreact. You'll only fuel the controversy. But there's also a responsibility on other politicians. Allies of the gentleman concerned, his bosses in parliament, even the prime minister. The prime minister famously said in a podcast just a couple of weeks ago, and I'm quoting him word for word, criticism is the soul of democracy. Criticism, he said, is the soul of democracy. So now, when his own allies can't take criticism, isn't it incumbent on the prime minister to come to the defense of Kunal Kamra? Kunal Kamra is getting badly treated on social media. He's being badly treated by the police. He's being badly treated by Mr. Modi's allies. Is it not incumbent on the PM to come to his defense and say, hang on, folks, this is a comedian making a joke. You may not like it, but don't behave in this way. Surely that was the duty of the PM.
No, it's not the duty of the PM to be out there for Kunal Kamra. Kunal Kamra is not at that level that the prime minister has to come in and defend him. Kunal Kamra got a lot of support also, including people like you. A lot of people have supported him. The prime minister has not taken any action against anybody who's made fun of him, for the record. The prime minister, I remember, shared a dance video during the elections, which I think the TMC didn't like, but the prime minister himself shared it. I have not seen. Just these are facts. I'm not defending anybody. He's not done anything like this or even got offended.
I wasn't saying the PM should defend Kunal
because
Kamra by name
but
specifically, but the PM should defend the right of stand-up comedians to mimic and lampoon politicians. He should say to politicians without naming any comedian, this is something that you must accept. Otherwise, criticism is not the soul of democracy. To prove the point he wanted to make, that we are the mother of democracy, criticism is the soul of democracy, he should have said, look, I defend the right of all comedians, not Kunal alone, But all comedians, and I ask
Depends now.
politician friends,
Karan, there will be one
less
day
thin
that's.
skin.
Do you believe that there is something called defamation or not? First, tell me. Do you
Not,
believe
I
there is?
don't believe in criminal defamation. I believe in civil defamation. I
But
don't
there
think
is
any
something. Okay,
democracy
fine.
believes in criminal defamation any longer, except India.
Okay, so that's the issue here. But you do believe that there is something called defamation. The punitive action should not be criminal. Punitive action should be civil, like fines and stuff like that, right? So there is possibility. Because if you have a free, like there is a possibility there is full defamation, allegations in the name of a joke. People calling someone a murderer and
That
like,
is not what the Maharashtra government did to
no, I
Kunal
agree.
Kamra.
But I'm
Criminal
saying,
defamation was evoked against him, as well as something called creating public mischief. The problem is, and I'm widening the discussion at this point on purpose, India has laws, criminal laws about defamation, about incitement, about hate speech, about religious and caste offense. And these are often used wrongly to intimidate and punish satirists and stand up comics. I know that the intention behind creating these laws is honorable and noble, but they are frequently misused because of the vagueness with which they are phrased. And we know that. We know that incitement to violence is misused in our country to punish people because it's such a vaguely worded phrase.
yes, I agree. But, again, we're talking of intention. What if the intention is not to make a joke, but to get views? And the only
What's
way I
wrong
get
with
views is
that?
by.
Hang on a second.
What's wrong with that?
Hang on. When you write a book, your intention is to get readership. You're not writing
Yes.
to keep in a safe and unread. When a comedian makes jokes, his intention is to get laughs, as many as he can. So what is wrong in looking for views? I look for views when I do my programs. What's wrong
Yeah,
in
but that
looking for views?
but that doesn't mean I write books making false allegations or insulting
Oh, hang
people
on a
or
second. It's not. It's
I don't know. There's a line. There is a
Kunal.
line. I'm
Kunal.
not Kunal. And you have to keep this Kunal thing. Otherwise, really, it will not be fair. You've called me Kunal
I
3 times
wasn't
now.
calling you
You
Kunal at
do.
that point, but I'm happy for you to. I'm
Okay.
going on to say Kunal was not actually making allegations. He was making a joke.
He has attacked the right wing. That's his politics, and that's okay. I
And it is
appreciate it. He's
every
very passionate
Indian's
about it.
democratic right to attack the left or the right or the center.
So that's where he comes from. So when we are discussing intentionality, it's all mixed up. He wants views. He wants to have a certain narrative. He uses, if you use things like Gaddar is a allegation, right?
There are
Is
loads
it
of
not?
allegations that are made that you brush off because
I
you think
agree.
they're unimportant.
We've already discussed that part, that they should not react and things like that. But what I'm saying is to have a blanket fully choot. There is at some point it will become defamation or
Let
not.
me,
That's at
let
some
me
point a
end
roast become a defamation. Is
Let
it
me
possible that
end
a
by
roast could?
quoting from your own article because the wise words you wrote in the Times of India on Sunday seem to me to be words that you're in some ways backing away from
I'm
right.
not backing away. I
Let
mean, if
me
you read the
let
article,
me quote
that's the
you.
problem. You cannot selectively quote. I'm saying it
I've
is a
quoted
complicated issue.
not selectively, I've quoted frequently from the first question to the last. Let me quote once again. Whether a joke is stupid, boring, obnoxious, or provocative, it is still a joke. And a
Yes,
joke, by definition, is not meant to be taken seriously. Those were your words in the article.
I 100% agree, and
That's the
I
mistake we
stand by
make.
it.
But
No,
Chetan, that's the mistake we make. We take jokes seriously and we can't see the humor behind them. And we particularly can't see that humor when it's lampooning us, when it's pricking our ego, when it's deflating us, when it's telling us that we are behaving like pompous fools. No one likes being laughed at. You need to learn to take it if you want to be a politician. Our politicians have never learned to do that.
maybe you are right in some way on that, but at the same time, I'm saying I agree. If it's a joke, it's a joke. But when it's someone like a Kunal Kamra who has a certain politics, you don't know whether the intention was joke. You don't know whether the intention was views. You don't know whether the intention was to set a narrative about make a political point, and
Couldn't you
that's
say that
okay.
about Trevor Noah? Trevor Noah's politics are clearly not those of Donald Trump. You don't know whether it's a joke. You
Yes,
don't know
so
whether it's
I'm
to
not
oppose
saying we should
Trump's
put. I'm
politics.
not
You
saying.
don't know whether it's to hurt. You could say that to Trevor Noah. Yet no one in America has done to Trevor Noah what has happened to Kunal Kamra in India.
I agree that we should not take legal action on Kunal Kamra. This is an outside of legality issue. That I'm very, very clear. Okay. I have no regards for Kunal Kamra. I think his talent is very questionable in terms of real comedy and in terms of his intentions. That's what the politics he believes in. It's fine. All his roasts tend to be towards one party and not towards the other. That's also fine. That's within his rights, and we should not bother him, and we should like let him do what he wants to do. But at the same time, this it was a very great opportunity to have a bigger discussion. Like, look at the issues we discussed today. It is not as simple because people were like either like, oh, this is very bad, or this is very good, and that nuance is lost. You know.
Let's end there. We've discussed this subject. We've sometimes quarreled over this subject. Occasionally we've agreed over this subject, but we've discussed it comprehensively and widely for over half an hour. All the possible viewpoints have been expressed. The differences between
Yeah.
you and me have been aired. And at the end of the day, I want to repeat that sentence that I began with, which I was quoting from your article. Do we want to be a country that jails comedians? And clearly, the answer is no.
No, because it's a joke, yeah. At the end of the day, we are discussing broad issues because it became a big deal. So it's a good chance to discuss. But finally, let me make my stance extremely clear. Whether you like the politician or not, the comedian or not, or politician or not, it doesn't matter. It's a joke, yeah. It's a joke. Look up the definition of a joke. It means it's not serious. People say, are you being serious or are you joking? Those are the two antonyms, right? When someone says, I'm joking, now, even if you feel like he wasn't really joking, he was trying to attack. But if he's openly admitting that I was just joking, you have to let them off,
Okay.
because it's not serious.
Let's leave it there. Thank you very much, Chetan, for the time you've given me. I'm deeply
Thank you.
grateful to you for agreeing. Take care.
Thank you.
Stay safe and keep laughing.
Yes, everybody, India should laugh more. I don't know why we don't laugh more. Because we need this in our society. So much suffering is there. And if we keep like that way, I do respect comedians, the ones with real talent, because they really make us laugh in a life. Life itself is miserable. Life is suffering. That's what Buddha said.
Let's not bring in Buddha. Let's stick to comedians. Let's stick to humor. Let's stick to being.
Let's stick to what Punjabis are best at. What are you having for lunch and what are you having for dinner?
Changaji.
That's what we. Changaji, well, are you not looking? You're very thin and everything. I don't think you're like a typical Punjabi foodie, is it?
मैं बड़ी कोशिश करना पतले होने दी.
But I think we should just enjoy. And I must say, I'm not very community conscious that way, but we should learn from the Punjabis. We make jokes all the time on ourselves. We don't get offended. Certain communities get very offended.
As my father used to say, "Paranthe kha ke marna te maro."
That's real humor right there. Okay. Thank you.
Take care. Stay safe.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch The Interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.